When a random cat walks up to you on the street and decides to sit at your feet, that moment isn't as simple as it looks. That cat has just run a rapid-fire biological threat assessment, weighed you against millions of years of survival instinct, and decided you were safe. Not interesting, not food-scented, safe. And the science of what tips that decision in your favor is one of the most revealing windows into how cats actually perceive the human world. Most people assume cats approach strangers because they're outgoing by nature, or because they can smell something appealing, or just because they're having a bold day. But a growing body of research into feline cognition has found something far more precise, that the cats who approach you are responding to a very specific profile you're broadcasting, often in ways that are completely unconscious, and that profile says something about you that your own friends might not even notice. We're going to break down exactly what that profile looks like, why some people project it naturally and others don't, and what you can do to shift it. And stay with me, because near the end of this video, I'm going to show you the one signal that researchers consider the most powerful attractor of all. And when you hear it, you're going to think about every random cat encounter you've ever had in a completely different way. Before we get into the numbered sections, I want to plant something for you to hold in the back of your mind. There's a specific reason why some people seem to collect random cats like they're magnetic, and it has almost nothing to do with what they're doing. It has everything to do with what they're not doing. We'll come back to that, because when you understand it, the whole picture clicks into place in a way that changes how you move through the world. 1. The body language paradox, and why the people who least want a cat's attention almost always get it first. Here's where it gets counterintuitive, and I mean genuinely counterintuitive in a way that nobody warns you about. If you've ever been at a gathering where your friend's cat ignored every devoted cat lover in the room and walked directly into the lap of the one person who visibly didn't want it there, you weren't imagining it. That wasn't the cat being difficult. That wasn't the cat being contrarian for sport. That was the cat reading body language more accurately than any human in the room and responding to what it actually saw rather than what anyone intended. Here's the thing. Human social behavior and cat social behavior are almost perfectly inverted. When humans want to show warmth, we do everything outward. We make eye contact, we lean in, we smile, we speak up, we reach toward the other person. These signals to another human read as friendly. But to a cat, that same cluster of behaviors, direct eye contact, forward-leaning posture, vocalizing, approaching, is exactly what a predator looks like in the moments before it commits to an attack. Every single signal you're sending to say, "I love cats, please come here," is landing in a cat's nervous system as threat. Now flip it. The person who doesn't want the cat near them goes quiet. They avoid eye contact. They sit still. They pull their body slightly inward and away. In human terms, they're communicating disinterest or avoidance. In cat terms, they have just displayed every single behavioral marker of a non-threatening, socially appropriate presence. The cat's brain processes this and reaches one conclusion: safe, approachable, worth investigating. A 2019 study from the University of Sussex found that cats are significantly more likely to initiate contact with humans who use what researchers called indirect engagement, looking away, remaining still, and allowing the cat to close the distance on its own terms. The people who received the most voluntary cat contact in the study weren't the most enthusiastic. They were the most patient. They were the ones doing less. Think about that for a second. Your cat, right now, is reading your body every time you walk into a room. And if you've ever wondered why your cat sometimes migrates to the far corner the moment you enter with too much energy, it might be because your entrance, well-intentioned as it absolutely was, looked like a pursuit. And to a small animal with survival instincts still very much intact, being pursued is not a comfort, it's a signal. Most owners have been reading this wrong for years. They've been pouring affection into an approach style that their cat experiences as pressure. And most of them never find out, because the cat simply moves away quietly, and the owner assumes the cat is just being independent. That's not independence. That's a cat telling you, as gently as they possibly can, that they need you to slow down. The key is this: drop to their level, look slightly away, let the gap close at their pace. The invitation isn't something you extend with movement, it's something you create with stillness. 2. Your scent is a file, and every cat that passes you is reading it. In a moment, I'm going to explain why your scent might be the single most powerful thing you're projecting into the world without knowing it. But first, here's what most people don't realize about what a cat's nose is actually doing when they approach you. A cat's sense of smell is estimated to be between 14 and 20 times more powerful than a human's. That's not a minor upgrade. That's a fundamentally different relationship with chemical information. When a cat sniffs you, they're not registering whether you smell pleasant or strange. They're reading a detailed behavioral file. They're detecting which animals you've been near, what you've eaten, what hormones your body is currently producing, what emotional state those hormones correspond to, and whether any of that matches something stored in their memory. If you have a cat at home, you are walking around the world with that cat's scent markers on you. When your cat rubs their face against your legs, they're releasing pheromones from scent glands located in their cheeks, and those pheromones don't evaporate when you step outside. They remain on your clothing, on your skin, in the air around you for hours. And to any cat you pass on the street, those markers communicate something important. This human has been claimed by one of us. This human has been approved. Here's what makes this even more fascinating. Cats can read the emotional content embedded in those pheromone markers. A cat who lives in a calm, secure, loved environment produces a different chemical signature than one who is chronically stressed or anxious. So if your cat at home is settled and genuinely bonded with you, the scent you carry into the world is essentially a character reference, written in a language every cat can read. Strange cats pick it up and respond to it the way you might respond to a warm personal recommendation from someone you trust. And then there's everything else layered on top of that. What you've eaten, what products are on your skin, what you've been near that morning. Valerian root, a common ingredient in herbal teas, marketed for relaxation and sleep, has a documented attractant effect on cats that functions similarly to catnip. Plants in the mint family, including spearmint, peppermint, and certain herbal toothpastes, produce a milder but real feline response. There's even a specific commercial cologne, Calvin Klein's Obsession for Men, that has been so thoroughly documented for its effect on big cats that wildlife researchers in India used it in 2018 as bait to help locate a tiger that had been moving through a populated area. The compound responsible is a synthetic form of civitone derived from the civet cat, and feline olfactory systems are neurologically wired to respond to it. The broader point here is something most owners never consider. You are walking through the world broadcasting a chemical story about who you are, who loves you, what state you're in, and what you've been around. Most owners go their entire lives not knowing that the cat who approached them outside a coffee shop this morning had already read half their biography before they'd even noticed it was there. 3. What you sound like and how you move, and why cats sometimes track you the same way they track prey. Here's where it gets really interesting, and also a little humbling. Part of what makes you attractive to a random cat might have nothing to do with warmth or emotional presence or scent at all. It might be the straightforward fact that, from a cat's hunting perspective, you look like something worth following. Cats are obligate predators. Their entire nervous system is calibrated to detect small, fast, erratic movement and high-pitched sound, because those are the precise movement and sound profiles of the animals that evolved to hunt across thousands of years. And humans, without meaning to, replicate those patterns constantly. Trailing shoelaces, dangling earrings, a scarf end caught in the wind, plastic packaging rustling in a bag at your hip. Any of these can trigger what behaviorists call the orienting response, the biological alert that says, small thing moving, track it. High-pitched sounds carry a similar pull. The reason that making soft kissy noises tends to draw cats in is that those sounds sit in a frequency range that cats find neurologically compelling. It overlaps with the vocalizations of small prey animals. If you whistle while you walk, or listen to music with prominent high-frequency tones through earbuds, or simply have a naturally higher speaking voice, you are sonically interesting to cats in a way that activates something very old in their brain. Cats have hearing ranges that extend significantly beyond what humans can detect, and a 2021 study from the University of Tokyo found that cats respond to human voices at higher registers with increased attentiveness and head-turning behavior compared to lower tones. This isn't a glitch in the cat system. This is millions of years of survival programming doing exactly what it was built to do. The cat isn't confused by you. The cat is alert because of you. And sometimes alert becomes curiosity, and curiosity becomes the decision to cross the distance. Here's what most people miss in this. If a cat seems to be following you with that specific focused energy, ears pointed forward, pupils slightly dilated, moving in short deliberate steps, they may not be approaching you as a potential friend at all. They may be in a state of play arousal triggered by something attached to you. Look at what's moving on your body. Look at what's making sound. The answer is almost always dangling from your coat, swinging from your bag, or rustling in your pocket. And hey, if any of this is shifting how you see your own cat and every random cat you've ever crossed paths with on a walk, hit subscribe. It's the best way to help other cat owners understand what their cats have been trying to tell them all along. 4. Territorial logic, and what it means when a cat claims you before you've even stopped walking. But here's what most owners never find out. The behavior that looks the most casual and offhand, a cat trotting towards you from across a lawn and rubbing against your ankles before you've even slowed your pace, is one of the most deliberate acts in a cat's behavioral repertoire. And most people who experience it read it as friendliness and move on without understanding what actually just happened. Cats are territorial in a way that goes far beyond geography. They don't just claim spaces, they claim objects, routines, schedules, and people. When a cat rubs their face against your legs, they are doing two things simultaneously. They are gathering information about you through the scent receptors in their face. And they are depositing information onto you, a chemical marker produced by the scent glands in their cheeks that tells every other cat in the area, cataloged. Part of my territory. Mine. If you walk into a neighborhood where a cat has established range, you are, from that cat's perspective, a new and uncategorized variable in an environment they are responsible for monitoring. Cats deal with new variables the way all predators with complex social cognition do. They assess, is this a threat? Is this neutral? Is this something worth incorporating into my understanding of this space? If your body language passes the initial assessment and your scent doesn't register anything alarming, a cat won't simply let you pass through their range unexamined. They'll need to complete the process. They'll need to close the gap and gather the full picture. What looks like spontaneous affection from the outside is, in part, systematic data collection. The cat is learning you, logging your profile, and deciding where you belong in their social map. This doesn't make it less meaningful. In many ways, it makes it more. Because the cat isn't approaching out of pure impulse. They're approaching because something about you has earned a closer examination. And cats do not spend the energy of a closer examination on things that don't matter to them. A 2020 study published in the journal Animal Cognition found that cats distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar humans, using a layered combination of scent, vocal recognition, and behavioral posture, and that cats who voluntarily approached unfamiliar humans during the study were significantly more likely to have positive prior social histories with a specific trusted human caregiver. In other words, the cats most willing to approach strangers were the ones who had already learned from one relationship that mattered to them, the humans could be worth the risk of approaching at all. Think about what that means. The random cat that trots across a courtyard to sniff your shoes isn't just reacting to you in isolation. They're carrying the accumulated weight of every positive human interaction they've ever had. Every gentle hand, every patient moment, every person who sat still and let them come close without grabbing. You're benefiting from someone else's love for that cat, and that cat is extending to you the trust they built with someone they may never see again. 5. The emotional frequency cats read in you. And the reason some people are magnets without doing anything obvious to earn it. Stay with me here. Because this is the section most people have genuinely never encountered before. And it's the one that explains the people who seem to effortlessly collect every cat in a neighborhood without making any visible effort. The ones who sit down somewhere and within minutes have a cat in their lap that hasn't approached a stranger in years. Here's what most people don't realize. Cats don't just read your behavior, they read your biochemistry. When you feel fear or anger, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol, the hormones that prepare you for fight or flight. When you feel calm and at ease, your body produces oxytocin and serotonin. These hormones don't stay contained inside you. Trace amounts seep into your perspiration, your breath, the microenvironment immediately around your body. And a cat's olfactory system, calibrated to a precision that dwarfs our own, is sensitive enough to detect the difference between them. A 2019 study from researchers at Queen's University Belfast found that cat behavior was measurably shaped by the observable emotional state of their human companions, and that cats initiated significantly more affectionate contact with owners who presented calm, settled behavioral signals. But more recent work in animal cognition has pushed this further, suggesting that the transmission pathway isn't purely visual. Cats appear to be responding to chemical signals, as well as a form of emotional eavesdropping that happens through scent before a single behavioral cue has even been exchanged. What this means in practice is something most owners spend years intuitively sensing without ever being able to name. A person who is genuinely at ease in their body, not performing calm, but actually experiencing it, projects a chemical signature that cats read as safe, not just behaviorally safe. Not just body language safe, chemically, biologically, fundamentally safe. The relaxed person isn't just holding still. They're actually, in a literal and measurable sense, smelling like a place a cat would want to be. Most people who are described as natural cat magnets share one quality that's difficult to articulate but immediately recognizable in a room. They're not trying. They're not reaching toward the cat with their energy, their gaze, their wanting. They're just present, settled. The kind of person who enters a space and lets the world come to them rather than moving toward it. And cats, whose survival has always depended on accurate and rapid emotional intelligence, find that quality compelling in a way that bypasses every learned social behavior they've developed around humans. This is what I was pointing toward at the beginning of this video. The people who attract the most cats aren't doing the most, they're doing the least. Not because they don't care, but because something in them has come to rest in a way that reads, in the oldest language cats know, as the safest kind of presence there is. And that brings us to the thing I want you to hold for just one more moment. Remember at the start when I said there's something near the end that will change how you see every random cat encounter you've ever had? This is where it lands. But it isn't about what you're doing, it's about what the cat is choosing, and why that choice is far more significant than most people ever realize. 6. What it actually means when a strange cat chooses you, and why that moment is never as casual as it looks. Something happens in cities and towns and quiet streets all over the world every single day, and almost nobody who experiences it fully understands what they're witnessing. A person is walking somewhere, maybe they're in a difficult stretch of their life. Maybe they've just moved somewhere unfamiliar and haven't found their footing yet. Maybe they're just walking, carrying something quietly inside them that they haven't named. And from across a garden wall, or a patch of courtyard, or the gap between two parked cars, a cat they've never seen before gets up from wherever it was resting, crosses the distance between them, and sits down close. Doesn't vocalize, doesn't ask for food, doesn't perform, just arrives and stays. This is the behavior that no behavioral checklist fully captures, and it is the one that matters most. When a cat chooses to approach an unknown human and remain, not because something moving triggered their prey drive, not because your scent matched a food source, not because you're standing in their territory and they're completing a cataloging process, they are making one of the most biologically expensive social gestures available to them. A cat at rest is a cat in its most exposed position, stationary, close to the ground, focused on something external. They cannot launch at full speed from that position. They cannot monitor threats from every direction simultaneously. Every second a cat spends sitting still next to an unknown entity is a second they have decided the calculation is worth making, that whatever risk exists in this proximity is outweighed by something they're sensing that they want to be near. A 2022 study from Oregon State University confirmed what many behaviorists had long suspected, that cats form genuine attachment bonds with human caregivers that closely mirror attachment patterns observed in human infants. Researchers identified secure and insecure attachment styles in domestic cats that tracked almost directly with the quality and consistency of their relationship with their primary human. And what makes this directly relevant here is the finding that cats who had developed secure attachments were significantly more likely to approach unfamiliar humans with confidence and sustained contact. They had learned from one relationship, from one person who had been reliably present, that closeness was safe. And they carried that learning into every new situation they encountered. So when a strange cat crosses a street or a garden or a room to sit at your feet without any obvious transactional motivation, that cat has a history. They have a before. And whatever that before looked like, whatever they experience with humans or without them, they are in this moment making a decision that their nervous system was designed to resist. They are choosing, against every instinct that counsels caution, to close the gap between themselves and an unknown presence. Because something in the profile you're carrying, your stillness, your scent, the emotional frequency your body's broadcasting, the accumulated proof of trust that lives in the way you hold yourself, told them that you might be worth being wrong about. In the wild, a small predator who misjudges a situation rarely gets a second chance. There is no recovery protocol built into their biology for the wrong read at the wrong moment. Every time a cat chooses to close the distance between itself and an unknown presence, it is overriding a survival mechanism that has kept its species alive across tens of thousands of years of genuine danger. The calculus is not casual. The decision is not small. And when it happens in your direction, the fact that it feels warm and simple and sweet on your end doesn't make it less significant on theirs. It makes it more. Think about the last time a random cat came up to you. Maybe you remember the exact moment where you were standing, what the light was doing, how it felt when they made contact with your leg or your hand or your lap. Most people go very quiet in that moment. Most people smile without knowing they're smiling. There is something in that specific experience that registers as more than pleasant. It registers as being seen. That's not sentimentality. That's your nervous system recognizing something true. Because to that cat, approaching you was not a reflex. It was not automatic. It was a deliberate choice made against the grain of every biological instruction that said, stay back, stay safe, stay still. And of everything in their world on that particular day, every scent, every sound, every presence that moved through their range, they chose the space between themselves and you as the one worth crossing. That is not a small thing dressed up as a small thing. That is a statement. And it is one of the most honest statements any living creature can make. So the next time a cat you've never met gets up from across a street and walks towards you without you doing anything to invite it, don't reach for them. Don't speak. Don't try to earn what's already being given. Just stay still and let them finish reading you. Because what they found in you in that moment felt enough like safety that they were willing to bet their survival on it. And in the language cats have spoken since, long before humans ever learned to listen, that is the only word they have for home.